What's up, friends? It is 3 a.m. Eastern US time, and just as promised in this tweet here, Escape from Tarkov has just gone down to implement their new update, which is bringing with it the next wipe. And shortly after the announcement that the downtime had begun, they also released the patch notes for the update. So right now we're going to go over just what they're changing. They've already announced a lot of interesting things about this patch, but now we can look at it in its full detail. So without further ado, let's just start reading. We present the Escape from Tarkov 0.12.12.30 patch notes. There will be a wipe with the patch. New additions expanded the lighthouse location, added the ability to visit the island where the lighthouse is located, and also added new interiors inside of the water treatment plant facility complex. Added 3 new bosses, the commanders of the ex-USEC PMC group known as Rogues. The leader of the gang is Knight, who coordinates the actions of the entire group and specializes in assault operations. Bird Eye maintains distance between him and the enemy, setting up ambushes and choosing positions with a clear line of sight to the area. Big Pipe prefers the grenade launcher and serves the role of massive firepower in battle and always rushes toward the enemy to reach combat distance. So these bosses were announced quite a while ago, back when they added the revolvers to the game. I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months ago. Bosses maintain contact with each other and with the other rogues, however they don't stick together and instead keep their positioning distances. When an enemy is detected by any of the bosses or rogues, information on the enemy location is transmitted to everyone by radio, and the bosses prepare for battle, taking up tactical positions for engagement. Bosses help each other, use all available weapons, and are hostile to everyone, players of any factions, scavs, and raiders. They don't communicate with the rest of the bosses and fence, so they attack any enemy immediately. Killing them does not affect the player's reputation. The boss's habitats are Lighthouse, which was expected, but also Shoreline, Woods, and Customs. They do not stay in one place and instead wander through these locations all the time. If the bosses have moved to one of the maps, they will be absent on the others. There's no timetable for their movement, and no one knows what the bosses are guided by when changing their location. So this is kind of the start of the weird stuff. So I guess rather than having a chance to spawn in any particular raid on any of these 4 maps, there's kind of a rotating map picked, and I don't know if they're guaranteed to spawn on each raid in the map that they have chosen at any given time, but that's kind of what it sounds like to me. Kind of like when Killa got his spawns changed and nowhere on Interchange feels safe from him. I guess that's what they're trying to do with Lighthouse, Shoreline, Woods, and Customs. But let's continue. Added offline cooperative game mode. This game mode is only available to players who purchase the Edge of Darkness pre-order edition. Added the co-op mode checkbox on the game mode selection screen. In co-op mode, all settings for bots, bosses, time, and weather are identical to online raids. Progress in co-op raids is not saved, and the gear taken into such raids won't be lost on death. The Start as Group checkbox allows for all players in the group to spawn together in the center of the location with the checkbox unticked. The Start as Group checkbox allows for all players in the group to spawn together in the center of the location. With the checkbox unticked, all players will spawn like in the online mode. The number of players in a group for the co-op mode has been increased and depends on the maximum number of players in the selected location. The number of co-op servers may be limited under heavy loads. In this case, on the group gathering screen, you will see a message saying, "Attention, high load on practice mode servers." This message means that finding a server for a co-op raid may take longer than usual. So while this sounds like it'll function as being able to do offline raids with friends, it seems like it could also act as like a custom game mode. So if people wanted to do like scrims or set up like tournament type lobbies, then this seems like a pretty good way to do that. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see what people actually do with it, depending on how limited the actual servers are. Number 4, reworked the movement animations, updated the animations for character movement, jumps, and stances, added new breathing animations, melee attack animations, weapon drawing and holstering, added sprint animations that change depending on weapon type and its length, added rotations and tilts of the body when moving and sprinting. The lower the speed and position of the player, the lower the tilt of the body during turns and vice versa. Implemented weapon operations during the sprint, in particular the ability to switch to another weapon, switch fire modes, check the magazine/chamber, folding and unfolding, inspection, and reloading. Fixed third-person weapon twisting while prone when lying on the side. Added daily tasks for player scavs. The tasks will be given out by Fence once a day and will be available after building the intelligence center in the hideout, regardless of the PMC character level. Added a new type of daily tasks, searching for items from a category such as food, medicine, weapons, etc. All items will need to be found in one raid. That's kind of an interesting stipulation because I guess that means they track which raid we got all of our items from then. So I wonder if that'll work with items we get from scav raids. I mean, I guess we'll have to find out. Added slots for special items in the PMC inventory in which you can put a compass and a rangefinder, a Wi-Fi camera, a marker, and other special items. Items in special slots are not lost upon death. They also cannot be looted from bodies. To activate an item from a special slot, you need to assign a key on the quick access panel 1 to 9. Added a flare gun and single-shot reactive flare rounds with lighting and flare ammo. Shooting red signal flares will call in a plane with an airdrop to fly to the nearest possible location. I wonder if multiple airdrops can be called in a raid. Because I imagine if every PMC in the raid goes in with a flare gun and shoots it at the very beginning, that would probably get chaotic pretty darn quick. I'd be interested to see it happen, but that would be weird. Anyway, updated the airdrop mechanics, added 4 types of containers with unique contents: weapons, medicine, supplies, general purpose. Added countermeasure flares when flying in and dropping the container. Updated the plane flying trajectories and decreased the engine sound volume, thank God. That stuff was so loud. But for one, I wonder if there's a reason that the planes have countermeasure flares. Like, will we be able to get RPGs and shoot them down? That'd be pretty cool. Or is it just for show? Also, I wonder if the plane trajectory update does have something to do with being able to call in multiple airdrops in a raid. Added tasks for the new lighthouse territories. Updated the base clothing models for USEC and Bear PMCs. I kind of hope that makes them easier to tell apart, because I've heard people talk about the idea of PMC karma, which works much the same way as scav karma, from what I hear people mention. And as it is, it's really hard to tell a USEC from a bear just by looking at them. So if they do ever go that route, I sincerely hope it becomes easier to tell bears and USEC apart. Added new head models for USEC and bear PMCs. Added new weapons and customization for them. The Benelli M3 Super 90 shotgun, Accuracy International AXMC sniper rifle, MP18 single shot rifle, RD704 assault rifle, SAG AK carbine, HKG 36 assault rifle, and the MGL M32A1 revolver grenade launcher. Nice. I wonder if that'll be lootable off of the new boss. Reworked the animations for MP133 and MP9. Added a new model, animations and modifications for SV98. Added new equipment and items. Changed the bonuses for the perception skill. Now the hearing radius increases by 0.3% per level up until 15% for the max level. Before this change, the hearing radius increased by 0.7% and up to 35%. So that's a pretty significant nerf to hearing radius. So maybe it'll actually be possible to sneak around the turbo chads with their turtle beaches all the way up. I look forward to seeing that. Change the inertia speed and force when leaning. Question is, did they make it slower or did they make it faster? They just say changed. Added new outfits for both PMC factions. Added new crafting recipes in the hideout. Reworked the elite metabolism effect. Now with 0 hydration and energy, you will not receive any thirst and hunger damage, but still receive other negative effects. Before this change, there were no negative effects at all. Reworked the elite strength scale effect. Now weapons equipped on sling, on back, and in the holster become weightless. All other equipment and item weight in chest rigs, backpacks, pouches, and secured containers is counted normally. Before this change, all equipment and weapons were weightless. Honestly, these are pretty solid nerfs to what were extremely useful skills. But the thing is, I never ever had an elite skill, so I'm kind of okay with people who do get them getting nerfed a bit. But that's just my own personal bias. Anyway, graphical improvements. 1 AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution, or FSR, an image scaling technology in modern 3D games that allows you to increase performance with minimal loss in quality of the final image. FSR is an analog of the DLSS technology. and is supported by all AMD graphics cards from the RX 400 series and newer, as well as NVIDIA 1000 series cards and newer. So I guess they just added that. I thought they had it already. The FSR option is only available for Full HD 1920 by 1080 and higher. The performance mode is only available for 4K Ultra HD resolutions, 3840 by 2160 and higher. Temporarily disabled the ability to enable MIP streaming in the graphics settings. We are currently reworking this function and will re-enable it in the nearest updates. Updated the NVIDIA Reflex version. Reworked laser sights for all tactical devices. With IR mode enabled, the lasers and flashlights will not be visible since they are designed for use with night vision goggles. Also, the intensity and brightness of standard non-IR lasers has been increased, so now it'll be even more difficult to run around with your laser on all the time. But it also looks like it'll be more easy to run around with the IR laser or flashlight on, because before they were just slightly visible if you were like up close. So, you know, a slight buff there, and I imagine a pretty heavy nerf to normal lasers, which means if you do want to use a regular laser, you'll just have to be more careful about turning it on and off when you get into and out of combat. Sounds: added new voices for Bear and Yusek, added new sounds of movement on top of various surface types, added new sounds for weapons dropping on various surfaces, added sounds of bodies collapsing after death, and sounds of transition to prone. Nice, nice. We like realism here. List of bug fixes: the sound effect of active headsets no longer persists between offline raids. Added a perk icon for hand stamina to the endurance skill. Cultist knife charge value. Cultist knife charge value no longer resets to max if the knife is picked up from a killed player. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm glad it's fixed. Fixed display of prices with 5 or more characters for items that take 1 or 2 cells. Added sorting table button to mail and task reward screens. The trajectory of the AGS projectile no longer changes when the scope is moved. The metal bars on the lab location no longer reduce the damage when shooting through them. Fixed incorrect behavior of bodies after death in some specific places on the lighthouse location. The next button no longer disappears if you return to the faction selection screen from the head model and voice selection screen and the nickname screen. MS-2000 marker no longer floats in the air after placing it. Fixed incorrect behavior of the settings interface when switching from full screen mode to borderless mode. Fixed the incorrect window size for the 1920 by 1080 resolution in windowed mode. Helmet mounted flashlight no longer blocks vision when using stationary weapons. That's a relief. Picking up an item while prone no longer causes incorrect camera movement. Adjusted the aiming accuracy for the TAS KS-23M carbine. So it wasn't my fault. I mean, it probably was actually my fault, but at least I can blame it on this now. But I had a couple fights with the KS-23 last wipe, and I was aiming what I could have sworn was dead center on dudes not far away from me very often. And that never hit. At the time, I could only blame myself, but now I feel a little vindicated, you know? Fixed a bug that causes rogues to visually appear incorrectly behind stationary weapons. The sort direction indicator no longer changes its position if the player re-enters the flea market screen. FN Scar H 762 by 51 20-round magazine now increases the weapon size by 1 slot down. When changing the menu background while in the hideout image is no longer overlapped by the menu background. Fixed the Icon Trooper TFO icon for low graphics settings. Fixed incorrect icon anti-aliasing for big items in the stash. Fixed a bug that caused character textures to become distorted when loading into a raid. Fixed incorrect patrol route for Tagilla on Nighttime Factory. Fixed the lack of wet asphalt effect with SSR enabled in some places on the lighthouse location. Added inertia when quickly tapping the AD keys. Is that a fix or like a change? Maybe it was supposed to be there and it wasn't. Who knows? Fixed bot behavior when shooting with revolvers. Weapon stat penalties from ammo are now displayed correctly for revolvers. Fixed incorrect behavior of Tagilla when changing positions during combat. Killa is no longer hostile to player scavs with a reputation above 6.0. So we can become safe from him. Good to know. Fixed display of weapons in the folded and unfolded state in the stash. Fixed the possibility of both hands getting frozen. Rogues are now aggressive again toward USEC players who killed them in past raids. What? So they remember that stuff? That's kind of funny. Fixed a number of issues related to the calculation of inertia, allowing players to bypass or reduce it. Fixed an error that caused the disappearance of ammo loaded into magazines during a raid after finishing the raid. Fixed blocking of inventory operations that could occur after selecting a weapon picked up from a killed scav. Fixed a bug due to which the container from the airdrop froze in the air or ended up in places inaccessible to players. Fixed an overly bright lighting of characters when loading into a location. Well, that is the entire patch. Seems like a lot of good changes, a lot of bug fixes, and a lot of things to look forward to with the raid. I'm kind of nervous to run into the triplets, but we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. But yeah, I look forward to what horrors we'll run into. So I appreciate you watching this far. Hope you enjoyed, hope you found it helpful. If you did and you've not already, I would appreciate it if you would dab on that like button, yeet that subscribe, turn notifications on, and come see me in another video. Yeet.